Jehovah redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that take refuge in him shall be condemned. Psalms 34:22. God redeems the soul of his servants. We read this in the book of Psalms, but let's fast forward to the New Testament. How does God redeem the souls of his servants? Well, first of all, we must realize that being a servant of God means that there are certain things that is required of us. Looking in the New Testament, we know that we are to be baptized for the remission of sins. Those that are penitent believers willing to confess that Christ is the Son of the living God, then being baptized for the remission of sins. Then after being baptized, we are then servants of God. And thus, with us becoming servants, our soul is redeemed through God. And we see that we will be able to take refuge in God, and we will not be condemned in God. So we see that when we become servants of God, our souls are redeemed. We are cleansed, washed, our sins are washed away. However, you notice the latter part of this verse, it says, none of them that take refuge in him shall be condemned. So which means that we should continue to keep refuge in him. We should continue to be a servant of God. Because once we are no longer servants of God and are no longer in his refuge, we are then open to be condemned. We are open to be lost. So it is important for us to realize that in order to be redeemed in God, we must become his servant. And we become his servant through baptism, as we just mentioned. However, as we just mentioned, baptism is not the only qualification. We must then take refuge in him. And we take refuge in him by obeying his will. John 14:15 says, if you love me, keep my commandments. And in 15:14 of the same book, it says, you are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. So we see that we have a responsibility as Christians to take refuge in God. And we also have the responsibility to be servants of God. And those that are servants will not be condemned. And those that are servants will have their soul redeemed by God. Thank you for listening to another session of Time Out Monday.